Hey Don, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Dustin. How about you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to talk to you about your new book here, Nashville Sound, an illustrated timeline. Can you tell the listeners a
Yes.
bit about the new one?
Well, thank you. It's people wonder, how did Nashville become Music City, USA, and this one kind of lays it out in text and in pictures. We have a lot of pictures in the book.
Yeah, and you've covered a lot of ground in the book. Even going back to Davy Crockett back in the early 1800s.
The interesting thing is that in 1945, after World War II, there was no recording studio or record label in Nashville. And within 15 years, it becomes Music City, USA. That's pretty astounding, really.
And I know when most people hear, Nashville, they of course think country music, but all sorts of different genres coming out of Nashville, throughout the last 100 years.
Oh yeah, we had a big R&B community here. We had, of course, gospel, white gospel, and black gospel. Now contemporary Christian, the symphony, which has won a number of Grammys. But country is the key, and actually there's a connection with Minnesota a lot with country, with Prairie Home Companion for years.
Well, and I think you can even argue, rock and roll started there in Nashville. You had Elvis, Buddy Holly, even Bob Dylan down there.
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan really opened it up for the rockers in the '60s. But prior to that time, what was Johnny Cash, Carl Perkins, Elvis Presley, the Everlys were all considered country acts when they started.
And again, Don Cusic with us, and we're talking about his new book, Nashville Sound, an illustrated timeline. Don, I want to ask you if you can maybe pinpoint a reason, why that part of the country brought so many people down there to record.
Well, it starts, the roots go deep, and they go back to the radio stations and the Grand Ole Opry show, the fact that the Musicians Union let country pickers in, and not just, big band guys. And it was just a friendly town, and it was a good, they had, the music business is the music, the business, and the technology all rolled together. And we had all of that here in Nashville. People who could do business, and the technology, really old technology now with radio stations and Grand Ole Opry.
Well, and as you mentioned, it didn't seem to take too long for that area to, suddenly become Music City. It was kind of, there were a couple things going on, and then it was almost overnight. It was like the place to be.
It was quick, and it really happened because, well, it was a dance band town, like so many towns. But the first label was Bullet Records, an independent record label, and they had a #1 pop bestseller, million seller called Near You. And that really is kind of forgotten now, but that put us on the map in terms of recording, and the major labels followed. Of course, a studio was created, and so major labels followed, and when Ernest Tubb decided to record in Nashville, that sort of opened the doors to the major labels to being here.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's, country fans know that name, but maybe not the average person, so it's funny that you can kind of pinpoint it back to Ernest Tubb.
Can pinpoint it to August of 1947. That's when he wanted to record it. And of course, there was a good recording studio here by that time. Some WSM engineers had built Castle Recording Studio, so the facilities were here. And of course, Hank Williams recorded in that studio before he finished recording.
Well, and I know you go into the book, again, Nashville Sound, an illustrated timeline, a lot of television shows recorded down there. Of course, Johnny Cash Show and Hee Haw, which I watch with my grandma all the time. So, I mean, that's another side of things coming from Nashville.
Well, the first studio that was built on what became Music Row was actually built to film TV shows and movies. There was a series of short movies called Stars of the Grand Ole Opry. And that's really why the Quonset hut was built to start with. And then, that ended, and it gradually became more and more for recording artists. And so we, here in that studio, or in that facility, I should say, it was another part, was, Gone by Ferlin Husky and Young Love by Sonny James and the Marty Robbins stuff. It happened pretty fast.
Well, Don, what's the country scene like now in Nashville? I know today's country doesn't sound at all like it did back in those days, but are musicians still heading there to record now?
Oh, goodness, yes. It's a creative center. And the funny thing about, this ain't real country, that was what happened when rock and roll hit. The country folks said, this ain't real country, it doesn't sound country. And they finally, because it was on the country charts. And then when the Nashville Sound came in with the strings and the orchestras, people were complaining, this ain't real country. So we go through that periodically. But it's, I teach at Belmont University, and I have 5 former students that have had #1 hit records. They're here through the college and through just coming here as a creative center.
Well, again, Don, I know we're out of time here, but I wanted to ask you. I know you've written several other books. Is there anything else maybe in the works, or something else we should be looking out for here soon?
I've written a musical on Minnie Pearl that we've staged down here, and they're going to put it on the road. I don't know if they're going to get up to Minnesota or not, but that's the next project that's getting off the ground.
Excellent. Well, again, Nashville Sound, an illustrated timeline is out now, and the book looks great, and you're going to learn something even if you're a hardcore music fan. So, again, Don, thank you so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you, Dustin.
All right, you bet. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.